Lucas Griffiths, your proposal pitch. So you are proposing to make a matte painting VFX piece, yeah?
Yes.
So talk me through it. What is it that I'm going to see?
Well, my plan's going to be to also take photos of the environment and what I could find that looks abandoned.
Okay, so matte painting, you're going for sci-fi look, yeah? So
Yes.
based around the kind of concept of like your World War Z kind of thing. What am I going to see in the matte painting? Is this going to be a still piece, or is this going to be moving VFX stuff?
It's going to be a move-in VFX, so probably around a 10-second clip probably.
Okay,
So you can probably see me, like the camera panning,
right.
and you see obviously in the distance you obviously plan the film in the Gower, but you see Connectly in the distance. And I'm going to change all that, so that will be the VFX and the Photoshop.
Okay.
So it's just going to look all abandoned.
So I think a 10-second clip is probably quite short. I don't know in terms of the VFX. Maybe be a bit more ambitious with it to make it more almost like the opening shot of the film, perhaps, to so that you've got the so you're going to have camera movement in there. That's going to be done through the VFX. The layers of imagery, all through the VFX stuff. So maybe making it a little bit more, a bit more ambitious as that first almost opening
there's
shot.
one idea that I wanted to do where it's obviously showing that happening, but the camera points towards my face, and obviously I'll be wearing probably like, I look rough because it's an apocalyptic type of theme.
Yeah.
So, but when the camera pans to me, it'll just be like an orangey, so it's like explosion happening in the distance and I'm looking at it type thing.
Yeah.
That was one of the ideas I have.
Okay, so yeah, I mean that you got to make this challenging enough for you, okay? And I think, giving yourself a decent piece to work on, like an opening scene where maybe you've got that camera pan kind of the camera track going through. Or coming towards you as the character, the thing happening, and then almost the camera turns, and then we see as an audience what's happened or what is going on behind it. As an opening scene, perhaps might work quite nicely.
Yeah.
Skills-wise, what do you think you need to do skills-wise to drive this forward?
Probably practice. It will be practicing on the mostly Photoshop based style, so I can then import it into the VFX. As I've only had 1 hour and a half lesson on this.
Okay.
So this will be a challenge for me.
So this is going to be then your next step is going to be testing and skills-wise research into the skills. So looking at walkthroughs online of how to do the various elements that you're doing. I'm going to assume that you've already done some research as to what matte paintings are.
Yeah.
And how they are used currently in VFX. Because obviously back in the olden days it was literally a glass plate that had been painted on. So maybe you could research-wise, you could add in elements like you could interview a VFX artist, you could contact a VFX artist and go, what are the challenges, what are the skills of completing something like this, to get some feedback on the best way to do it. You've got 2 VFX artists that work within the department, Chris Thomas particularly, and I know you've met.
He wasn't in the facility.
He doesn't. Right, so he doesn't teach you particularly this year, but he's around on a Wednesday. You could contact him, ask him if he could give you some advice and guidance about matte painting. Potentially, you could interview him. You could film that interview. That could go into your research and your development. Then, I think I like this idea. I think it's going to challenge you a lot, but in a good way. So I think you need to work now on or developing that research, that skills research. Looking at your planning out the story, planning out what elements you need to develop for this.
I want to try like. It's like, even though it's going to be quite a short thing, I want it to seem like it has a big story towards it.
Yeah.
So people think, wow, that's going to have like, you know, a big story towards it, but even though it's short, have a big impact on the story.
Yeah, I mean, if it's 10, 20, 30 seconds, that's great. But you make it like an opening scene, so that
you even do it like the camera's going through the grass, I'm standing there.
And it comes up, and always comes up behind you, or like, you were facing the camera, and whatever the visual effect element is happening behind you. So I think, you know, story now is the clarification. So yes, you're making a visual effects matte painting piece. That's great. Yes, we know this. But what's the story? It's apocalyptic. So what are you going to do? What am I going to see, essentially? So storyboarding it out. Rough framing it so that you can see what it's going to look like on paper, and then start developing it as that matte painting piece.
It's like it's good and bad, because between the difference of what I put there, the Last of Us and World War Z, they both have the same concept, but one's got an abandoned element towards it, and one's just got fire and explosions towards it, which I'm mixed between, because why do I want it to look like abandoned and like no one's left and it's just you, or do I want to make it seem like it's just happened?
Well, again, that's your choice. That's the story choice. And again, getting feedback from an audience. Who's the audience going to be for this?
Well, that's the thing I was deciding on. For me, I'd probably say 18 to 25.
Okay, yeah, I'd agree.
Also, you don't want to see a child seeing that kind of like stuff if they're young.
Yeah, and again, it's that thing of clarifying who your audience is now. So you need to do some research into your audience and pitch your two ideas to the audience. Here's my kind of two storylines. I can either go down this route, I can go down that route, or I can go as a combination. See what do your audience think is going to be the better run for you. I like the idea of it's just happened as even as a setting up of the story. If this is an opening scene, that again you need to research opening scenes of this type of film. Do they set up?
Maybe had like a really cool idea now.
Yeah.
Where I could have like, I do an opening scene where it's happened, fire explosions, but then there's like kind of like a glitch effect, and it goes to the present where it's all abandoned, and I'm still in the same position. It's just like it's a memory.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good, but I think that would be obviously ambitious, trying to do two different VFX. It depends how fast I can do them.
Well, this is the next piece. So yes, it's about being challenging enough, but it's about the idea behind it. So if that's your idea, get feedback from the audience. Is it a good idea for the audience? Do they get it? Do they understand it? Do they think it was set up? Researching opening scenes of this style of film. Is this conventional? It is, but you need to prove it in your portfolio. So you need to look at developing that. How does it develop? How do opening scenes set that scene for the audience? Even films like really old kind of sci-fi films or comic book films use that kind of technique. So looking at some nice little examples, maybe 2 or 3 examples of how it's used. Analysing what techniques have been used visual effects wise to achieve that is going to help you to kind of design your idea then.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Clarifying and research on audience, more research on maybe opening scenes of visual effects stuff for this kind of genre. What are the conventions of this genre? Again, these days, World War Z and Last of Us, massive on the visual effects.
Yeah, I did mention that they become so popular that they made it into a video game, just making it more.
And vice versa. So Last of Us was a video game that's been made into a film, a TV program. So being able to kind of, you know, as a genre, they are probably like the biggest. Like, it's almost kind of like fantasy action. It's got a bit of everything in it, really, horror within it as well.
I mention it because it's also both with video games.
Mm-hmm.
Could I just say, could it help me towards the audience? Because obviously the video games was 18 to buy them, so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're looking at who are these aimed at? So the TV program's on Sky Atlantic. It's on at like 10 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night.
It's because of the time zone. It's on 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. So what? For
Last of Us.
Is it? It's on at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that's why we.
But again,
it's
I don't know. I record it as well, so I've not watched anything live for ages. But again, that kind of that element of if it's on at 2 o'clock in the morning. Even if it's on repeat, so I think they repeat that on Sky Atlantic and they repeat it at like 10 o'clock one night.
Yeah.
There's a reason it's on at 10 o'clock, not at 9 o'clock, and certainly not at 8 o'clock. The watershed in this country is there for that reason. That tells you who the target audience is. You know, if it's on at 10 o'clock, the target audience is likely to be 18 plus. So if it's on at 9 o'clock, you're 15 plus, you know, you might be a little bit sweary. It might be a little bit gruesome, violent. If it's on after 10 o'clock, it's going to be very gruesome, violent. It's going to be very sweary. It's going to be very adult. So being able to clarify those things. I just realised my computer's crashed. But being able to... being able to do that is going to kind of help you to clarify your idea, to really focus it then on what it is you're making. So propose your story, write your treatment for it. What is my story? What am I going to see?
Yeah.
What's the scene that you're making this for? But I think it's a lovely idea. The VFX is going to give you some really nice skills. It's going to give you something to get your teeth into in terms of developing your idea as well. So next step, more research on skills, audience, planning.
Yeah.
You're going to need to use your time really efficiently. So
a lot of work in this.
No wasting of time. But it's a great idea, go for it.